convicted of a crime I didn't even commit. Ha! Attempted murder. Now, honestly, what is that? Do they give a Nobel Prize for attempted chemistry, do they?
A worthy nemesis is hard to find. Welcome to WatchMojo.com, and today we're counting down our picks for the top 10 best Sideshow Bob episodes.
We shall meet again, old friend.
Before we begin, we publish new content every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. For this list, we're looking at the finest Simpsons episodes in which Bart locks horns with his arch-enemy, the sophisticated and poofy-haired Sideshow Bob. Number 10, the Italian Bob.
Why can't you people learn to speak my language? I learned to eat your food.
When Mr. Burns sends Homer to pick up his new car directly from the factory, the Simpsons get a free trip to Italy. However, a cheese-related mishap leaves the family stranded in a small Tuscan village. When the family goes to meet the mayor, they're shocked to find that it's none other than Bart's old enemy, who's settled down with a family and put his life of crime behind him. Unfortunately for Bob, the unexpected guests put his secret past back in the spotlight. It's a sharp deviation from other Bob episodes, and though it may be less memorable, its originality earned it a place on our list.
I hereby swear. Vendetta!
Number 9, the Bob Next Door.
Hello, Bart.
Huh? Say that again.
Hello, Bart.
Having a crazed maniac come after you multiple times would leave any 10-year-old with lasting trauma and paranoia. We're surprised Bart isn't seeing flashes of Bob just about everywhere. But when a new neighbor joins the Simpsons on Evergreen Terrace, Bart becomes convinced that it's actually his old foe in disguise. And it might not just be his repressed trauma talking.
You see, Bart, you were right all along. I am Sideshow Bob.
This episode calls back to a few classic Simpsons gags, with yet another throwback to the famous rake bit, and even a scene that takes place at the Five Corners, which was last seen way back in Season 6. Delivering plenty of nostalgia mixed with fresh jokes, it was an episode worthy of this beloved villain.
But their sum total is the greatest murder since Snape killed Dumbledore.
Oh, I haven't gotten to that part yet.
Number 8, the Great Louse Detective.
Who ordered the steamed Gentile?
Steamed Gentile.
Despite his affable nature, Homer's made a few enemies over the years, and one of them apparently is not messing around. In this episode, a mysterious assassin makes several attempts on Homer's life. Given the Springfield Police Department's less than stellar success rate at solving crimes, Homer goes to the most experienced criminal he knows to try and figure out who's behind the string of assassination attempts. With a shock collar-equipped Bob to lend some insight into the criminal mind, the family eventually learns the killer's identity.
I know you. You're my mechanic, Junior.
Frank Grimes, Jr.
Frank Grimes.
Don't you remember?
Seeing Bob and Homer work together wasn't just a novel concept, it was also a hilarious odd couple pairing for the ages.
What? You saved my life!
I've saved a life, and it feels wonderful.
Number 7, Day of the Jackanapes.
Folks, I've been in showbiz for 61 years, but now these jerks have sucked all the fun out.
With declining ratings, Krusty the Clown decides to finally bid showbiz adieu, announcing his retirement for a 5th time. When Krusty reveals he's taped over every episode featuring his former sidekick Sideshow Bob, Bob flies into a rage and plots revenge. Again. In a rare show of effectiveness, Bob then captures Bart as part of his plan to kill both him and Krusty.
Have Bart kill Krusty.
Obviously, things don't go to plan, and Bob is probably still kicking himself for not finishing Bart when he had the chance. Inevitable conclusion aside, it's an episode with solid laughs and a wonderfully convoluted plot, one that put both Bob's genius and his tendency to overthink things front and center.
Ah, the catwalk. A perfect vantage point for revenge.
Number 6, Sideshow Bob's Last Gleaming.
But something's been troubling me lately. Television.
In this classic episode, Bob turns his rage towards television after growing tired of what he sees as a cavalcade of dull banality polluting the airwaves. Remember, this was 1995, and Breaking Bad and The Wire were a long ways off. In a convoluted scheme to rid Springfield of television, Bob breaks out of prison and steals an atomic bomb, interrupting the family's day out at the local air show.
By the way, I'm aware of the irony of appearing on TV in order to decry it, so don't bother pointing that out.
While far from the best of Bob's schemes, this caper still features some great moments, like Bob's impression of an army colonel, voiced by none other than R. Lee Ermey of Full Metal Jacket fame.
This is Colonel Leslie Happablap. If you don't open that door, I'll tear you up like a Kleenex at a snot party.
You say you're in the military?
Number 5, brother from another series.
Yes, I'm framing you, and I'm doing a really excellent job, too.
This episode brought many new elements to the table, giving more of a sense of depth and intrigue to Springfield's resident evil genius. When Bob is released from prison, again, he's reunited with his estranged brother Cecil, who gives Bob a job working at a construction site, building Springfield's new hydroelectric dam.
I have the 82 Chateau de Tour and a rather indifferent Rosan Segler.
I've been in prison, Cecil. I'll be happy just as long as it doesn't taste like orange drink fermented under a radiator.
This episode introduced David Hyde Pierce as Sideshow Cecil, and the fact that the actor also played the brother of Kelsey Grammer's character on Frasier is not something the episode was shy about mining for comedy. Cecil would appear later on in the series as well, but this first appearance is still his best.
Guess who?
Maris?
Number 4, Sideshow Bob Roberts.
And just look how happy he is.
What's worse than a megalomaniac villain who's clearly gone off the deep end? One who's entered politics. After repeatedly calling into a right-wing radio show, Bob becomes the darling of Springfield's chapter of the Republican Party. With the help of his new Republican allies, Bob runs for mayor of Springfield and wins.
And the results are in for Sideshow Bob 100%, for Joe Quimby 1%. And we remind you there is a 1% margin of error.
Naturally, having his arch nemesis as the mayor makes Bart's life a whole lot harder. But he and Lisa quickly discover Bob's mayoral win is a bit suspicious. This is another classic Sideshow Bob episode, with Bob's villainous schemes providing material for plenty of jokes directed at Republicans and political conspiracies alike.
Your guilty conscience may force you to vote Democratic, but deep down inside you secretly long for a cold-hearted Republican to lower taxes, brutalize criminals, and rule you like a king.
Number 3, Krusty gets busted.
Hey, what's going on here?
Krusty the Clown, you're under arrest for armed robbery. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say, blah, 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 blah.
Every story has to start somewhere, and the rivalry between Bart Simpson and Sideshow Bob began with this episode from the show's very first season. When Bart's idol, Krusty the Clown, is arrested after seemingly having robbed the Quickie Mart, Krusty's sidekick Bob speaks for the very first time and takes over as host of his TV show.
For years I have been silent, save for the crude glissandos of this primitive wind instrument. But now destiny has thrust me into the center ring.
But Bart and Lisa have their doubts about Krusty's guilt, and their investigation into the robbery begins a rivalry that would last for decades. This marks the very first appearance of Kelsey Grammer as Bob, and the start of Bob's career as an arch-villain and criminal mastermind. To call this episode a classic is an understatement. Number 2, Black Widower.
Soon I will kill you. Son pied senti beau. French for her foot smells lovely.
We all want to find love, but sometimes that search can lead you down some dangerous paths. When Aunt Selma brings her new boyfriend to meet the family, Bart and Lisa are shocked to see that the object of her affections is none other than Sideshow Bob. Rather than accept that Bob has repented for his crimes and has nothing but the best intentions, the duo puts him under intense scrutiny.
Don't be a fool, Aunt Selma. That man is scum.
Then call me Mrs. Scum.
Something that eventually saves Selma from certain death. Not only did it set the tone for future Bob episodes, it also gave us a fully fleshed out Sideshow Bob, a villain worthy of multiple guest appearances spanning decades.
Well, time for my walk. Don't forget to die.
Number 1, Cape Feare.
Ah! Sideshow Bob!
It wasn't the first time Bob and Bart crossed paths, but it's undoubtedly the best. Heavily modeled after the 1962 film Cape Feare and its 1991 remake by Martin Scorsese, the episode sees Bob paroled from prison, only to quickly make clear his intention to put Bart 6 feet under. Fearing for their lives, the Simpson family goes into witness protection.
Hello, Mr. Thompson. I think he's talking to you.
A landmark episode that firmly cemented the Bob-Bart dynamic, as well as Bob's love of Gilbert and Sullivan. not to mention a deep hatred of rakes, this is the Bob episode to rival them all, and one of the best episodes in the entire series.
I was wondering if you could sing the entire score of the HMS Pinafore.
Very well, Bart. I shall send you to heaven before I send you to hell.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out these other great clips from WatchMojo, and be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.